So for my research essay, I chose Trifles and the Yellow Wallpaper. I chose Trifles by Susan Glasbell and The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Gilman as my two primary sources. So the common problem or theme that these two works have in common is the roles of women in society. I chose this topic because I wanted to dive more into the theme and learn how literature portrays the role of women in society. So one surprising piece of research I found was that the main female characters are not given a first name. In Trifles, Mrs. Hale and Mrs. Peters are not given a first name and only take on their husband's last name. In The Yellow Wallpaper, the narrator remains unnamed throughout the entire short story. The only name that is given to her are the nicknames that her husband gives her. This helped develop the project because it helped show the way women were viewed in society. This added to the oppression women faced once they got married. In both Trifles by Susan Glasbell and The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Gilman, the authors highlight the oppressive gender roles of women in society by using Mrs. Hale, Mrs. Peters, and the unnamed woman to reveal how these expectations silence, confine, and isolate women. Mrs. Hale and Mrs. Peters are not given a first name and are only addressed by their husband's last name. The play is known for its traditional gender roles it represents, and the messy kitchen of Mrs. Wright contributes to the societal oppression women faced. One of the first things the men notice is the messy kitchen, and they even call her not much of a housekeeper. The stage directions also contribute to the gender roles. When the men are in the scene, the women will take the peripheral position so the men can be in the center of the room. However, once the men leave, the women go back to the center of the room. Anything that the women worry about, the men consider to be trifles, and this includes the preserves, the dirty kitchen, the quilt, and other items Mrs. Wright wants from her jail cell. In The Yellow Wallpaper, the narrator remains unnamed and is only addressed by the nicknames that John, her husband, gives her. John declares that the narrator has a nervous condition that renders her ability to do much, and his treatment of her is seen through making her stay in the nursery even when she doesn't want to. Anything that the narrator expresses her worry over, John considers those to be fancies, and that she needs to stop worrying about them. His treatment of her shows the unequal relationship that was between a man and a woman during that time period. John also expresses a parental behavior towards his wife that is seen through the nicknames he calls her, which this would include blessed little goose and little girl. And he even says bless her little heart and a childlike way towards her. So both these works demonstrate the way women were viewed in society and the way that their husbands would treat them. So the women are addressed only by their husbands' last names or not at all to show that how they are no longer themselves once they are married. The men believe that the women to be intellectually inferior, and this is kind of seen through the condescending treatment that how they treat their wives. And the women tend to rebel against their husband's treatment even without realizing it. In Trifles, it's whenever they don't tell the men that Mrs. Wright definitely killed her husband, or in The Yellow Wallpaper, it's whenever the narrator tears down the paper. So theories of the gaze crossing feminism, I use that to contribute to how the stage directions show the societal oppression women faced. In the article, The Yellow Wallpaper, I use that to show how her husband's treatment of her shows the gender roles of the time and how it just conforms to that. In Defense of Women, I use that to combine the two works of literature to demonstrate the roles of women in society. So a valuable lesson that I learned is that in the 19th and 20th century, men discounted women a lot, whether that be intellectually or another way. And that women were still smart in their own way. They each had their own perks that they could notice. Like in Trifles, whenever the women noticed Mrs. Wright's emotional state just by her house. So most women knew that they were being treated wrong, and that would be shown through the way that they would rebel. And women are resourceful in their own way, and sometimes it can't compete with men, just like how in Trifles that the women noticed the emotions and what Mrs. Wright was going through during that time.